Greetings everyone, this is Jed Schlackman here. I work as a holistic counselor as well as a hypnotherapist and energy healer. For the current video, I want to speak about the topic of uncertainty and finding more peace and acceptance with uncertainty in our lives. If we pause and reflect upon life and how life unfolds, we can see how much that we really can't be certain about. So there's a vast amount of phenomena beyond our control. We can't control all the different external factors that are governing how the world functions, whether it's our human social environment or the natural world. We can't predict so many things, yet there's often a part of our mind that's attached to the idea of certainty, of things being controlled or predictable, and we can have a lot of anxiety when that part of the mind gets kind of overactivated or overstimulated and something appears to be unsettled or unstable or uncertain in our surroundings. So this is a common source of anxiety, and people naturally try to relieve anxiety to find a way to overcome it or compensate for it. So as we live in an unstable, rapidly changing world that's filled with uncertainty, many people are desperately seeking to find a sense of certainty. And when they do that, they often grab onto an illusion of certainty that actually limits their perception and their consciousness. Religion and politics are two facets of society that commonly offer a misleading sense of certainty, where people believe they are in the right or that they're aligned with some higher spiritual truth, when in reality their beliefs are based upon some rather limited perceptions, their own subjective personal values, and or logical fallacies. Attachment to diets and health practices is another area where people seek certainty and often fail to see limitations in their perspectives, as they want to believe that there is a guaranteed, unchanging way to eat and live for preventing disease. And you can see obviously that eventually, no matter what diet or lifestyle people are maintaining, pretty much everyone is going to show some degradation or deterioration in their physical body and their physical health. So even something that's appearing to be keeping you relatively healthy for some amount of years, it'll come to a point where it's not able to enable that any longer. There are other factors or variables involved that you don't have conscious control over that may be impacting your state of physical health. Could have to do with energy and consciousness, with your soul's plan for your lifetime and when you may be ready to transition out of that lifetime. So those are all things that we have to accept there's some uncertainty about. Our conscious mind can't ultimately control those things. Science in general is also a source of false certainty, as even sincere scientific exploration involves very limited perception of reality and inability to perceive full systems and contexts as data is gathered and theories are formed and espoused. Science driven by political, religious, or commercial interests becomes even less valid and more distorted. And you can probably think offhand off of many examples of that, where there are people doing what is being referred to as scientific research, but there is some agenda that's influencing the way that research is conducted and the desired outcome or conclusion of the research, where it's not just purely looking for greater knowledge and understanding, it's trying to prove something to be true, to support some existing ideology, or to support the development of some commercial product or service. So that's not really pure science. That's just using some scientific methods to gather data and create documentation to support something. And even if that is done in a pretty diligent or thorough manner, the people conducting research are still quite limited in what they can actually perceive and measure about reality and all the potential variables that can contribute to what is manifesting, to what's unfolding in perceived reality. People can measure some chemical things. People can measure things that are visible within the visible light spectrum, for example, but they may not be able to measure what's occurring in the realm of consciousness, in the spiritual realms, and even different wavelengths of electromagnetic energy that are beyond the scope of the instruments that have been developed. So there's always going to be some significant degree of limitation in what's being perceived. So to say you can be 100% certain about your theories and conclusions that you're developing is not being completely honest with yourself about our human ability to perceive everything, to have a full picture and full understanding of the phenomena that exist in our environment or our lives. So having more acceptance and openness to uncertainty would actually allow our consciousness to expand and perceive reality more clearly, so that we can better recognize what we can and can't be certain of. So one example of becoming wiser about things is actually differentiating or distinguishing between what things we have a significant amount of certainty about and what things we really can't have that much certainty about. In life, there are many things that, as I mentioned, we can't predict. We don't know what other people are going to do or plan or carry out. We don't know what's going to happen with the planet and the weather and different natural phenomena that can impact our lives. So we may have some expectation of stability and security in our life, that things will remain predictable and comfortable, but at any given moment something could occur suddenly that's not expected or predicted, that can kind of turn our life upside down, that can disrupt our sense of stability and normalcy. And we don't want to spend time and energy worrying about that. So it's not something to be anxious about. It's something that we can have peace and acceptance about, just trusting that life is going to happen however it's going to happen. Whatever is meant to be will be, and that we're just doing our best in our human role and this human experience to navigate life and its challenges. And ultimately it's kind of like a dream. We experience it and we kind of wake up from it, returning back into our soul essence or soul level of consciousness once the physical incarnation is over, and that's okay. We won't have certainty in advance of when our lifetime is going to conclude, but we can be reasonably certain that that itself will occur eventually at some point in what we measure as physical time. So that's an example of something that we can have some degree of certainty about, that we're not going to be in this particular physical life form forever. It's just a temporary experience, and we're going to transition our consciousness back into another realm or layer of reality that we've already existed in before we had our physical incarnation here. So having that concept or understanding can actually bring us more peace and acceptance with the uncertainty of phenomena in our human life, in our physical experience. I hope that this brief commentary or discussion, however you want to label it, has provided some things to contemplate, some insight into how we can not go too far in trying to cling to something to give ourselves a sense of certainty, how we can be more open in our consciousness, willing to be uncertain about things, and always curious, open to learning and understanding more, to recognizing the limits of our perception, the limits of our ability to understand or control various things. For those who are interested in holistic health and spirituality, I invite you to visit my website, phinsights.com. That's spelled PHINSIGHTS.com. For now, I wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.